We're what was it? One P1?
One
PW?
PW.
The return. All right.
JB Hater was also on it.
I mean, it's no. What was that? WSE shit. What was that? Remember that?
Oh yeah,
World
yeah.
Entertainment.
WES, I think.
WES, something like that. It's no
There's like
that,
some
but
big names on this show. It's crazy.
oh yeah. Oh, there's also Christopher Daniels versus Cara
Cara
Noir.
Noir.
Do you
Yeah.
care about spoilers for it?
No.
Cara Noir won. Yeah, over Daniels, and I was like, interesting. That's very interesting to me.
JB Hater lost too, though.
Session Moth. Anyways,
Session Moth sucks.
And
Anyways, continue.
And we're live in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ring Post Radio, the only morning show that talks about wrestling. What's up, chat? How is everybody doing? What's up, dog? Dab on your haters, dab on your Jamies, and otherwise. I'm your host, Ryan Knightsey. That's because I'm cool and hip and young. As always, I'm joined by another hip, cool, young dude. That's Scotty
I never
Edward.
claimed to be any of those.
Well, I'm claiming you are. I'm demanding that you is and shall and always will be cool and hip. Scotty, how are you doing?
Tired as always. You know, I don't know why we do this at 9 a.m. But we have for like a year now, so I'm never changing it.
You know, part of it's schedule, but I feel like part of it is like, you know, a nice, you know, get your tea, get your coffee in the morning, listen to.
I live in England. I'm not getting tea.
Look,
I have high quality H2O here.
This is the tiniest water bottle I've ever seen in my life.
All right, I got 2 of them to be fair, so eat shit. Anyways, I'm doing well. I watched my favorite show of the year last night. And
2 nights ago?
Morning. Technically yesterday morning. Because I did nap, but that's besides the point. So that was great. I'm tired. Like I said, can't reiterate that enough. We have unfortunately sad stuff to talk about to start off the show. You know, because that's life. But this week in wrestling, otherwise, was kind of boring. You know,
I don't know.
We didn't have AEW blow up as much in terms of like, you know, the Elite and CM Punk stuff has finally slowed down, so that's a big win for me because I don't care anymore. Dynamite was considered bad by most people. So there you go. I know the segment I need to talk about. I just remembered. For Soraya. Oh, I'll get to it.
I don't know when we're gonna get to it. We got a lot of stuff to talk about.
I will find time to get into it because I am not letting her off the hook. Anyways,
the FTW champion?
Hook.
Yes. She's gonna be off the hook.
Hook.
Anyways, thank you everybody for joining us again on this week's episode of Ring Post Radio. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. We of course got some contract news up and down the board, cross wrestling. We're going to be talking about the Stardom 5-star Grand Prix final that Scotty alluded to. Took place a couple days ago. Very good show. Very, very good show up and down the card. We also are going to preview Extreme Rules, which, I don't know about you, Scotty, pretty decent card, I gotta say. I think
there's a Dolly Wop or whatever the fuck it's called.
Dolly Wop?
What's the match that Imperium and
Donnybrook or something? But hey, look,
Dolly Wop. It was close enough.
It's got Gunther in it, so it should slap.
It has Sheamus in it, who Sheamus banger after banger after banger after banger after banger.
And MASH. We're also going to preview the Impact Bound for Glory show that is happening this upcoming Friday. But of course, sad news.
We have to talk about the biggest news, actually, before the sad news. LA Knight's coming back, so I feel bad for everyone that listens to this show because Ryan's dead. He was like, "Where's he going with this?"
I can't
Like,
believe you.
I'm trying to remember and honor the life of Antonio Inoki, and you had to bring up L.A. Knight.
Yeah, you had to.
Yeah.
Oh God, how do I transition back to sad mode?
I'm here to ruin transitions.
Yeah, my bread and that's my bread and butter. That's how I make my money is transitions. Yes, Ellie Knight is returning. Anyways, I don't know. Anyways, yes, sad news, of course. Coming from the wrestling world, coming from Japan. Antonio Inoki has passed away at the age of 79 years old. Not a, it's of course a surprising death, like any death, but not too much of a surprising one. He has been, battling health conditions for heart conditions for a while now. He's been wheelchair bound for a while now. So, sadly, with all people in that sort of position, it kind of was a any moment sort of situation. Like I say that like I'm a doctor, but either way, Antonio Inoki, founder of New Japan Pro Wrestling, and what is one of the biggest pro wrestling stars in the history of Japan, has officially passed away on Friday. It was announced via Yahoo News Japan. Yeah, so Antonio Inoki, just insanely influential figure in pro wrestling. Like we said, founded New Japan Pro Wrestling. The most One of the most famous wrestlers in Japanese history. Just like at the height of his popularity, it was just an unbelievable. It was like Hogan, Cena, Rock, Austin, put it all into one person, and Inoki's still popular than all of them combined and wild. Then of course founded New Japan, was the booker and all that. Um, has a lot of issues behind the scenes as well. I said online somewhere that, you combine like The Rock and Vince McMahon, you get Inoki. And, just like Vince McMahon having all of his issues, Inoki had embezzlement claims and all these stuff with New Japan. Then later a politician, had a whole lifetime as a wrestler, whole lifetime as a booker and promoter of a company. Then he's a politician, doesn't is no longer was no longer politician after Yakuza claims and all this stuff. So there's a wealth of history and lore and just the handprint he is, slap print, that he has laid down in the entire history of pro wrestling. Someone tweeted out, I don't remember who it was, but someone tweeted out really that the history of Japanese wrestling really stems from the history of Antonio Inoki. How New Japan started early on, the birth of, All Japan as an offshoot of that, the birth of a huge other aspect of Inoki is the whole birth basically of MMA from his mixed martial arts bout with Muhammad Ali. Just he's lived 10 lifetimes, this one guy. It's in every story you hear about him is crazier than the last, and it is very sad to see someone like that pass away. Scotty, what were your thoughts about hearing Antonio Inoki passing away on Friday?
I think he died on his 60th anniversary. So he started wrestling 60 years to the day that he passed, which is pretty crazy. He's someone that you, I think for us fans here in the U.S., you knew about him. You don't necessarily know, or not everyone, but you've heard Antonio Inoki's name. Even if you're just a WWE fan, you've heard Antonio Inoki's name. After all, he is a WWE Hall of Famer. Big accolade there.
A contested WWF World Heavyweight Champion.
Yeah, which Corey Graves actually brought up, and I think someone made a great point. How if Vince was still running, that would never have been brought up. It would have been like, "What the hell did you just say?" But I think the outpour of respect that he was shown on pretty much every Japanese wrestling show this week is really telling of his impact, right? He got a moment of silence or a 10 bell salute or this or that on every show, every single show, because he meant so much to wrestling in Japan. Someone that I follow, made a great point. Without Antonio Inoki, who knows? Maybe we never see Hiroshi Tanahashi. Maybe we never see Kazuchika Okada. Maybe we never see any of these, all-time greats that stepped into New Japan. Because after all, the reason New Japan exists is because of Antonio Inoki. I know people like to joke about Inokiism and how bad it was at the end. But listen, you still don't get New Japan Pro Wrestling without this guy. He is the reason that you turn those shows on every year and you get some of the best wrestling matches in the world because it's a style that he helped create, that he morphed. Of course, it's morphed over time, but again, without Antonio Inoki, none of this matters. I saw someone, I think it was Mark Ramondi of ESPN. He tweeted, "Think of the most famous person you know. Multiply it by 10, and that's Antonio Inoki's impact," right? Like when you said he was a politician, a booker, a wrestler,
a trainer,
Muhammad Ali stuff, a trainer, like this guy did it all. I mean, I think I read, and I didn't know this, that he like talked with Saddam Hussein about getting
one of the many stories of Antonio Inoki is at one point in his political career, he did an in-person hostage negotiation with Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, which is just like
that's like
that alone is like, what?
That's one cool thing from one person's life, and that was one of like 12 things for Inoki.
Yeah, and if you really want to feel the impact of Inoki just on the wrestling sense, read Kazuyuki Fujita's comments. Those really hit me, and everyone makes jokes about Fujita, blah blah blah. He's not a guy that's going around talking about his emotions, but those hit. That hit really hard. Keiji Muto saying, I really wanted him to be at my retirement, so that made me upset too. I know New Japan had their first show since his passing, of course, Royal Quest yesterday. They took a moment of silence, but I'm sure when they do their destruction and whatever next week,
destruction and power.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be something special for him there too. 50th year of New Japan. We talk about 60 years of Inoki as a wrestler, 50 years of New Japan. He passes away this year. I remember Okada's comments. He really wanted Inoki to be a part, and I think he was there, right? That's when they brought him down in his wheelchair. So there's a lot of difficulties there, just thinking of how he meant so much to so many people, but his impact obviously will never be forgotten. Antonio Inoki will never be forgotten. He left a impact that is bigger than almost any wrestler ever, if any wrestler ever, and I think that goes a long way. You could say what you want about his booking, you could say what you want about so many things, but his impact was felt, and he will be very missed because, again, I can't stress enough, we don't get all these amazing all-timer matches from New Japan Pro Wrestling or anything like that without Antonio Inoki, and that alone, I think, should make people recognize his importance. You don't even have to watch his wrestling to get it, even though you should, if you really want to be a historian or if you just want to check out the original strong style in a lot of ways.
It is just wild, the influence he has. I mean, obviously as a wrestler, he was very, very extremely popular. And then going on founding New Japan, and like you said, like just the amount of things he did. Yeah, he pissed off a lot of people. He embezzled from his own company, all these things. But in a weird way, there was a great thread I also read. We're shouting at a bunch of people. We didn't shout out anyone's names, but it's out there.
I wish I remembered them.
I think I retweeted it.
The only one I remember was Mark Ramondi, and that's because he had a check mark. But I'm sorry for anyone that I'm talking about and not referencing.
I'm checking to see if I liked it or retweeted it, maybe. But Doesn't look like I did.
So bad at liking tweets, dude. I should, so I remember them all.
Yeah,
I don't.
There was like a great thread I was reading about how, like, what's the weird thing about like Inoki and his like embezzlement issues in New Japan is that, like, because he was embezzling from the company, it forced him to be creative because he needed to make more money to keep the company afloat. Like every year, and at the time they were doing the contracts of 1 year contracts, like New Japan does. So they were always like, possible to have talent raids. They pissed off a bunch of guys. They went to UWF, pissed off a bunch of guys. That they formed All Japan. They made All Japan, or they went there. Went to went to Noah or whatever. Went to everyone else. Eventually, was able to get UWF guys back in. That was huge. He was able to come up with the idea of having this big, one of my favorite matches of all time, big debut for a Southern guy from the United States that wore a mask and wore an iron helmet called Big Van Vader, who took him down in like 5 minutes, ended a multi-year reign, I believe, or it's not reign. I think he hadn't lost in like years, and that was the first loss in years, and it started a great moment. Now the downside for the company is, of course, that incited a riot in Sumo Hall, and they got banned from that venue, so that's obviously not good for them. But it's like this weird thing that, like, his creativity of forming New Japan in the early stages a lot of the time was like not based on like coming just being creative and doing things, or like resting on your laurels. Almost, it was like his own morality, I guess, forcing himself to constantly come up with new great fun ideas. And eventually, things didn't pan out. He eventually becomes come in 2000. All these people, he piss off a bunch of people, they all leave. Which is also a good thing in a weird way, because you get other promotions, you get All Japan, you get all these other ones having great shows, great competition in Japan. It's always been there for Japan, and that's also been great. One of the reasons why Japanese wrestling, I think, is so great as well, because they have all these things constantly for decades. But then you have, like you said, you have the 2000s with Inokiism and the birth of wrestlers like Fujita, the birth of wrestlers like Don Fry, I guess. Which is weird because like Inokiism was like a reaction to MMA getting popular in Japan, which got popular in Japan because he was interested in MMA in like the 70s.
Yeah.
And it came back to weirdly bite him in the butt 30 years later. And then I'm glad you also brought up Hiroshi Tanahashi, is like, like as bad as Inokiism was, it created this huge dark period for New Japan. Tanahashi probably would, he's a wrestler. Maybe he would have, if New Japan didn't exist, I don't know what he would be doing. But like at the same time, like if
Shawn Michaels didn't inspire him, so it's
that's
not
true.
like he wouldn't have been a pro wrestler. But
I'm not giving this claim to Inoki, but it's interesting that, like, if the dark period of New Japan didn't happen, would Tanahashi feel as much of the ace as he is?
Yeah, that's an interesting question.
I think he would always have it in there, but like the company and him and all that stuff aligning. The importance of Tanahashi, would
like
that
him
still
being
exist?
The ace is different from how important he was to New Japan during that time, and pretty much how he carried them out of those dark ages, because he was, he's one of the best of all time.
And we see that with like Jon Moxley today, like during the dark ages of the COVID pandemic, during the dark ages of the Summer of Punk.
It's a good comparison just to know how that feels. And I mean, it's hard to compare because like people thought New Japan was dead. compared to like AEW, who just is going through a lot of ups and downs. But like, yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing to look at because Tanahashi obviously benefits from that scenario, but at the same time makes him be better. So
yeah,
it is an interesting way to look at it. But I mean, I think his we the best way for me to talk about Inoki is his legacy. I mean, that'll go on forever.
oh yeah,
Even when he's gone, it's gone on for 60 years, and it will go on for infinite amount of years from here on out, because even if it's just from New Japan, but like you said, MMA itself is major in that respect. I saw like someone tweeted out a video of Vince McMahon sending in a happy birthday to Noki for one of those shows that they did, and I was
the
like, that's just
Inoki
crazy.
Genome Federation.
Yeah, like that's just insane to think about,
Yeah,
that Vince sending that, like, because Vince doesn't do anything, right?
no,
So it's like, it's those little things that's like, if you need a reason to understand how big he was, here's one of those things. I think it was really cool what WWE did. I
mm-hmm.
really do, of getting that up so quickly, and instead of waiting until their next live show, they could have waited till Raw.
Yeah,
They easily could have waited till Raw to flash the thing, right?
mm-hmm.
But they didn't, and they got it up, and they paid their respects. And I think that again kind of reminds you how important he is to wrestling itself, not just in Japan but worldwide. So it's little things like that. I know AEW couldn't do it because Rampage was taped,
Yeah.
but they'll do it. They'll do it Wednesday, or probably on Dark or both. So it's cool, and a lot of people paid their respects. That's been fun to watch. Kind of,
Can I read you
see.
a list of some of the wrestlers he trained?
Sure.
Just a who's who of wrestlers on this list. Keiji Muto,
That alone, that's enough.
Masahiro Chono,
Yeah, it's just gonna be legend after legend. This is
Te-
gonna be ridiculous.
Tatsumi Fujinami,
I saw his comments too. Those were tough.
Yoshiaki Fujiwara, the inventor of the Fujiwara armbar,
Oh
uh,
my god.
Akira Maeda, the first Tiger Mask, not Misawa, but the New Japan Tiger Mask, Hiroshi Hase, uh, Kazuyuki Fujita, Riki Choshu, Shinya Hashimoto, Osama Kido, Brian Adams. You might be asking, who's Brian Adams? Of course, that is Crush. Demolition's Crush. Um, Rocky Romero. Remember that's, and Samoa Joe, TJP. Opening up expanding the dojo system and bringing it to the States. And eventually, Brian Danielson as well was able to be a trainer, or not trainer, but a trainee at that dojo as well.
Samoa Joe said something really nice, actually.
Mm-hmm,
He
mm-hmm.
said, "I found my road. Thank you for everything, Inoki-san. Sama, rest in power." Which I like. I think the comment "I found my road" is very. It kind of gives you the insight into what he tried to teach, if that makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
everyone finds their path in wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I mean, you name all those people, right? And just think of all the people that came from them, right? Who they trained and who that learned from those guys, and it just touches every company you could think of in a lot of ways. So, I mean, that's crazy. It's crazy, but it's huge. I mean, Keiji Muto, who's about to finally retire, next year, um, which is crazy in that aspect. Fujita, who's everyone talks about Inoki when you talk about Fujita.
Yeah.
So
The
a
Fujita was
lot of the
really
same mindset.
Fujita really was like one of the. I mean, Fujita was like a pet project during the Inokiism era for Inoki. Like plucked him out of amateur wrestling school, made him do like he Inoki had Fujita didn't want to at the time, I don't believe, but he had him do MMA so that he can then become a wrestler. Like that was, and then, obviously Fujita, well known in that circle of just being the old Ironhead himself, and then bringing that into the world of wrestling and just, monster push right off the gate.
Yeah, where else can we get Fujita versus Bobby Lashley? Huh? Who else gave that to us? No one.
No one else but Inoki. Who else gave us Doc Gallows versus some other random scrub? Get so upset by the match, yell, "Stop the match!" and throw in chairs. Stop the match! Stop this!
Oh, by the way, Kaito Kiyomiya is screwed now.
Oh yeah.
Just want to point that out for various reasons, but anyways.
You mean like now that like Inoki passed, it's kind of hard.
Oh, that Inoki passed, they're giving him the belt.
I didn't think about that, but oh no. I was actually thinking about it. I was like, oh yeah, they were teasing Kano versus Muto as the retirement, and then Kiyomiya won. I was like, okay, maybe they do like Kiyomiya versus Muto as his last match. And now I'm thinking they could do Fujita versus Muto for the last match, a match they planned to do like a year ago, or like earlier this year. Actually,
he's gonna pick the biggest person possible.
It'll be Fujita. That's Fujita. That's without a doubt.
I still think he'll pick Okada if he's willing to lay down for Okada.
Yeah, that's true.
Big if.
Big. Okay, well, this is how you do it. Muto wrestles Fujita, wins the title, and then Okada, and then he lays down for Okada. Oh, that's politics, probably. Anyways.
Probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, Antonio Inoki, rest in peace. Influential figure in not just pro wrestling, but MMA, just sports as a whole.
ESPN wrote about him. So if you need to further the idea of where he reached in history, I mean, it's hard to compare in terms of wrestling deaths. I can't really give you one.
Yeah,
it's just a big one. It's just a very, very big.
That's what I mean. I feel like his influence, and I'm saying this as someone who's learning it after the fact. I know I didn't obviously live during Inoki, at all. And watching it, Brandon Thurston tweeted out a great thread of like free matches you can watch on New Japan World, a bunch of Inoki matches. So definitely go check that out.
I think the Vader match is on there.
Vader match is on there. That's one of my favorite matches. Just the history of that match alone, like Vader became a made man the moment that match ended, and that one match rocketed him to stardom and rocketed him and made the rest of his career what it was. It was just that, maybe you can add the eye gimmick, not gimmick, eye thing as well to his lore of Vader. But it really was like that match that, put Vader on the map and just put him on stardom for the rest of his life.
Sure.
Yeah. It's just Inoki is like, it would be like if Vince McMahon passed away. It's just like it's undoubtable how.
I was trying to think of someone where I didn't feel bad about saying they have to die, but I guess we don't have to feel that bad about Vince.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there are people that hate Inoki's guts for various reasons as well. So
there always is.
It's always that sort of gimmick.
They're only 2 years apart.
Vince and Inoki?
Yeah, Vince is 77.
Wow.
Inoki's 79. So
lots
of history between those two, just as wrestling goes.
So you're saying
not just between them. I'm just saying overall.
So you're saying that there was a chance for Inoki to Wrestle Kingdom this year?
No, but he probably, if he was healthy, probably could have won the GHC heavyweight title.
That is true. That is true. Let's move on and talk about AEW and not really AEW, but just the world of professional wrestling contracts. Because there are a lot of different contract news that will run by you. First off, let's talk about just fun. Let's just do some fun hits real quick. Leo Rush has officially announced that he is returning to the ring. We already knew that he was returning to the ring as soon as he was healed. and he has now returned to the ring. He's been out of action since PWG Bola. He's coming back for Rev Pro British J Cup 2022, and he's already taking bookings as well. So excited to see Leo Rush back again. I say it every time. Hope he stays. Hope he stays. He's very.
I just hope he doesn't get hurt again.
Doesn't? Yeah, same.
He's had bad luck with injuries.
Same. I think he. I hope he stays. I hope he doesn't get hurt. I would love to just see him stick around. Come to New Japan as well, junior division. That would be fantastic. A great junior champion.
He would have been the best of Super Juniors.
No doubt.
He wasn't hurt, which again sucks that he wasn't. But there's always another chance.
Always next year. Always next year. And hey, next year might be crowds, clapping, cheering crowds next year. So,
dude, I don't know. I'll never count on that ever again.
I guess that's fair. Other talking points. This isn't really contract news, but certainly it was a report, and I wouldn't be surprised if a contract shift this guy's way. But it was reported by PW Insider on Wednesday that Carl Fredericks, former New Japan Young Lion, was spotted at the WWE Performance Center earlier this week. We don't know if he joined WWE, if he was even offered a contract or anything, but you have a guy like that at the PC, you have to think that with Triple H in charge, and this is one of the reasons we talked about with Triple H, the world changing with Triple H in charge, you have to think of a guy like that available now, he's going to get picked up. He's going to get picked up big time.
Yes, nothing screams mid like Carl Fredericks. Do
you not like Carl Fredericks?
I don't think he's all that good.
Interesting.
I think he was the worst of the Young Lion crew. So, yeah, like Clark Connor, and it's funny because he started off before most of them.
Yeah,
and he had first potential, and then it feels like he just got passed. He makes sense, I guess, for NXT or whatever he ends up doing. I mean, the way he went out of New Japan's always an interesting thing to me. But hey, sure, good for him.
I don't know if do you ever hear like what was the proposed story for Carl Fredericks?
No.
Apparently, there was a whole thing of like, oh, he wasn't booked in the G1, how upset he was about that, and that kind of led to the end of his contract with New Japan, not want to be there anymore, and getting pulled out of like the final night. Apparently, the final night when he was supposed to wrestle, allegedly, he was supposed to win the match, get the pinfall victory in the tag match, and then start a storyline with House of Torture, where they would try to get him into the group, and he would decide against it, and yada yada yada. But they were ready. They were about to give him a push in New Japan.
That's pretty big, and he said no. So
yeah.
At the end of the day, it's his fault.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
I mean, not making it into the G1, it's like, yeah, I would have rather seen you there over Chase Owens, but Chase Owens has been there forever, so it's like,
that's true.
It's a matter of, and they were going to bring in outside talent no matter what. Yeah, it wasn't a really big loss for them, truthfully. Like, they weren't hurt by that. They have so many people on excursion right now that can come in and add so much more juice to the product than not Juice himself. But I guess that's another topic in a few seconds. But he just got lost in the shuffle, right? Like I said, Clark Connors passed him. I think Alex Coughlin was better than him. The other guy, who's the other guy? There's another one.
Red Narita?
There's another.
We're talking just LA guys.
It was no, it's like a Gasian one.
Alex Coughlin, Carl Fredericks.
Yeah. Clark
Connors, Kevin Knight.
Is there not a Kevin Knight's good?
He wasn't the first class, but Kevin Knight I really enjoy. I think he's very good.
I don't know. There was someone else, but either way, and then they of course have the Japanese talent on excursion who will be big stars when they come back. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, you alluded to Juice already, and let's get the squeeze here. So Juice Robinson tweeted out saying that he didn't tweet out.
Absolutely no selling the squeeze comment.
Thank you. Juice Robinson said that he, in an interview, saying that he was a free agent. And then following up with that as well is a report from Cultaholic saying that AEW has massive interest in bringing in Juice Robinson. So, one, do you believe Juice Robinson when he says he's a free agent? And two, if you're AEW, whether or not you bring him in, or whether or not he is a free agent, do you want to bring him in for, for AEW television versus Impact television or whatever?
One, no, I don't believe. I'm never believing a thing he says again. Two, there, to me, besides Jay White, there is no one, I guess Will Ospreay too, but that's different. There's no one that would translate to American TV better than the full package of Juice Robinson. I'm not counting just what we got on Wednesday where he just wrestled a match. Like, the full package of Juice Robinson includes killer promos, killer character work, like very good matches, great matches. Like, that all would translate perfectly. So,
especially with AEW, which is a mic promo heavy focus company. Stars get over in that company. He would instantly
be like top 5 promo in that company.
Yeah.
That's just how good he is. I'm not saying people are bad. He's just that good.
Yeah.
If you ever heard any of his posts, not you, but if anyone here has never heard his post-match G1 stuff, it's all fantastic. Not even from this year, but from past years. And I think people reacted to Juice like ridiculously on this past Wednesday. That Philly crowd was horrendous.
Yeah.
It was a horrendous crowd. The only things they reacted to was Chris Jericho segments. That is it. Everything else was like a wet fart. And don't get me wrong, there is a segment that was a wet fart. But still, they treat everything like that.
What was interesting about that crowd is that, like, obviously it's like not even close to like a hardcore wrestling Philly crowd. But like, I was watching Rampage, and yeah, Rampage is at like 11 o'clock at night. But like, you get Ryan Nemeth talking about like ECW and stuff, and it feels like no reaction. It felt like a WWE Philly crowd.
Well, that's what Meltzer talked about this week. Meltzer said, and someone tweeted this out, so I honestly I didn't hear this myself from Meltzer, but I'm gonna assume people didn't lie about this. Meltzer said AEW needs to stop signing WWE talent because it's bringing in a WWE fan base who aren't they don't react the same way, right? As an AEW crowd. I was like, makes me think, just based off the past couple crowds, right? Not Grand Slam, but this past one, the Albany one, like, it's been like you have clap crowds, but worse all of a sudden. And like, I saw people blaming Juice for his match with Moxley. I was like, some people called it Moxley's worst match of the year. I was like,
no,
what?
No,
I was like, it wasn't even bad.
No,
I thought it was fine. If anything, I thought it was good. It just didn't have reaction because nothing on that show had reaction. Once Jon Moxley didn't have like a nuclear reaction, I was like, all right, this crowd sucked.
Yeah,
let's move on.
Yeah. The crowd had no idea who Juice was, and any other AEW crowd would have immediately known.
They didn't know who Bandito was. Just Bandito did the damn thing.
Yeah.
So like, they had to cheer for him. It was weird. I've never seen a Philly crowd like that. Even a WWE Philly crowd's usually a lot better than that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true for sure. Well, let's talk about AEW. So a lot of contract news and a lot of stuff coming out of AEW. First off, we kind of already talked about him, Bandito. It was reported that Bandito, following his match at AEW against Chris Jericho, great match by the way, he was offered a contract. We don't know for certain if he accepted said contract. I imagine he would have. Otherwise, why would the story have gotten out? It makes me think back to like hearing like, oh, Eddie Kingston was offered a contract right afterwards, or Ricky Starks was offered a contract right afterwards. these stories of people that get out there that are like, oh yeah, we offered a contract to this guy. We know for a fact we offered him. So yeah, I would imagine he accepted the contract. You'll still work Big Lucha, still do.
That's the Big Lucha World Champion right there.
You gotta respect that name. But it is an undoubtable get to the company. He is. I've been singing the praises of Bandito for years. Just a phenomenal talent. And it was like a no-brainer. You get this guy. Easy peasy. You get this guy. You have a complaint about Bandito getting a contract offer?
I have a complaint that he wasn't offered a contract sooner.
That's fair.
The moment you bought Ring of Honor, you should have watched one Bandito match and realized, oh, this was the only guy that was over when it was dying.
That's I'm so glad you brought that up.
I'm still stunned that it took until him wrestling Chris Jericho. By the way, probably the best Ring of Honor world title match in who knows how long. I will go by that. It was probably better than Jonathan Gresham's reign. Maybe the Konosuke Takeshita match is the only one between him and Claudio that I'll give higher praise to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this was the best since Bandito was probably world champion. Sorry, I cut you off there. It's just like, why was he not offered a contract the moment you bought the damn company?
It's fascinating to look back and be like, Tony Khan initially went with Gresham over Bandito. And at the time, it made sense in terms of oh yeah, Gresham is more Ring of Honor oriented than Bandito was. But you and I talked about is that one of the highlights of super late era Ring of Honor was the Lucha aspect of Ring of Honor. I wasn't a huge fan of Roosh, but I know you liked Roosh in Ring of Honor. You and I both love Bandito. Flamita and Ray Horus were having great matches as well in Ring of Honor.
I think it would have got bigger if COVID didn't happen.
Yeah, and I think that's also true.
But they were still putting on fantastic matches with no one in the damn arena. Was it Bandito and Flamita that had this insane
they had a 4-star match in a warehouse.
It was no holds barred or something. I just remember them doing a flip through a table, and I was like, "What is happening? Why are you guys doing this?"
It was phenomenal, that match. I remember it specifically. But yeah, it's just it's late stage Ring of Honor is Gresham was the embodiment of that technical wrestling idea, but that obviously was one of the reasons, I would argue, one of the reasons Ring of Honor kind of went to the wayside, right? I mean, I talked about this on the show before, is that I enjoy that technical wrestling stuff. I enjoy pure wrestling, things like that.
No, you don't. You don't enjoy pure wrestling.
I do.
You do not enjoy pure rules.
We
lied to ourselves, Ryan. I remember this. When Jonathan Gresham and Josh Wood stepped in that ring, we said, "Oh fuck, this is bad."
Yeah, I enjoy it depending on the wrestler, really.
Yeah, that's true. Daniel Garcia, Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah, good stuff. A guy take Bandito and put him in a Pure Rules match just to see what it can look like. I'm interested in it.
They literally did that in Terminus.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Trust me, I know it didn't work.
Doesn't even make sense. Ugh.
But it's interesting to me. It's the styles of clashing of styles is
just
interesting.
Let Bandito cook.
Yeah, but
cook.
But one of the reasons I think Ring of Honor ended up dying is because it's we're going down the pure road. And it's no, don't do that. Do more Lucha stuff. This is the thing that's working. The pure style is cool, but it's not working, and especially wasn't working in a warehouse, and not even a warehouse, a basketball arena at UMBC. It just didn't work. And then TK of course went with Gresham. Because I also have a theory that TK did not watch Ring of Honor at this point. So he went with Gresham.
No, because Bandito would have been signed.
Yeah,
long ago.
And then the people he signed were Gresham at the time, Dalton Castle and the boys. He brought the boys back and made it Dalton Castle and the boys.
I will say, I think Bandito in some ways he benefited from not getting that Ring of Honor contract. Because now he might be getting an AEW contract and be far more featured than Dalton Castle and the boys or Jonathan Gresham was.
That's very true. That's true.
So I think that's a way, kind of like Roosh. Roosh benefited, right? Andrade got him in the door, and now he signed because he showed that he can just accept, yeah, if I'm going to lose, I'll lose. And I think Roosh has been the best he's ever been in AEW. I don't think it's a question.
Let's talk about Roosh. Let's talk about Roosh real quick.
Well, I want to combine them because one, the reason that AEW, I think, originally spoke to me when it was coming about, right, is that they made all these promises. We're gonna bring women's Joshi, like they instantly kind of told you they're gonna bring Joshi wrestling to TV with Riho and Shida and Shoko Nakajima and had all these people on their first show, right? And we're gonna bring the Puro type style to American TV because obviously you start off with Kenny Omega and that's really all you need. We're going to bring tag team wrestling. We're going to bring Lucha. We're going to bring all this. And then I think they went away from that. They went a lot down like the usual TV road. But now I think we're finally coming back to that. And this is where I say AEW is just following the plan that Ring of Honor had when the Elite left.
Yeah.
They're signing the Lucha guys now.
Yeah.
But here's the trick. The Elite's going to come back. And you're going to have this now, which is so exciting.
Kenny Omega Bandito versus any member of the Elite now, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah. Bandito, hopefully he signs that contract, right? But now you have him, you have Penta, you have Phoenix, three of the best. I think Bandito and Phoenix are probably the best for my money. You have Roosh, who's been awesome. You have Andrade, who all just, it capture this Lucha style better than most, right? Yeah. And it's all different in a lot of ways. They all are a little different from each other and how they do it, right? Like Bandito can be the ultimate powerhouse and then do stuff that Phoenix does. Well, no one can do what Phoenix does, but you get my point.
Yes.
Penta is Penta. You're like, he just has that aura about him. Roosh is hard hitting. He just like broke John Silver on Rampage. Andrade doesn't get to wrestle, but that's fine. He's looked a lot better since he has.
Yep.
You get all those, the Lucha style. It's going to make the brand better, I think, just in a terms of in-ring product. But yeah, Bandito here is huge. I hope he's signing. He's also going to GLEAT this weekend. I don't know if people know that. Him and Commander are teaming up.
Is that
Commander's nuts too?
Is that the GLEAT show with Luigi Primo?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, it is not.
Did you know that? Did you know that Luigi Primo is going to GLEAT?
I did for some reason. Now this show, I went through it the other day. It has that. It has Kaito Ishida, who left Dragon Gate for GLEAT, which is a big deal.
Yeah.
Jake Lee of All Japan, Jun Kasai, Tomoaki Honma. It's got a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everybody over here. Let's
bit of everybody.
A real pulling names out of a hat gimmick.
But like you said, let's talk about Roosh, who got an official contract, which I think I was shocked to see the All Elite graphic personally.
Yeah, so he's officially got offered a contract and officially accepted that contract Roosh has to be a part of the AEW roster. He was working a per date deal. I remember Lucha Blog being like, I feel like he's no longer on a per date deal. He's done a lot of dates. And yeah, he's officially on a contract. Andrade got him in the door and got him a contract. So good on him.
Well, Andrade walks out the door.
Yeah, whether or not Andrade's walking out the door, Roosh is a solid, and he's been doing great stuff. I think he has been really nailing it at every moment he has been given. Hopefully,
and Hangman, baby.
Yeah, hopefully, that mentality keeps going, right? He doesn't rest on his laurels now that he has a contract. But I
got a bone to pick with Tony Khan.
Oh, okay, hit me. Oh, the other thing I want to say as well before you say your bone to pick, expanding the Lucha world outside the Mexican wrestlers in AEW.
Yeah,
throwing guys like Dante Martin into that mix. Uh,
Oh yeah,
throwing other guys. Throwing Lee Moriarty, who is like Lucha,
you could probably save Guevara by doing that.
Guevara would be very interesting. Lee Moriarty and Helico, who are like, I think like
And Helico's a big one.
Negro Cassis trained, like
Yeah.
like guys like that would be fascinating to bring in there too. But yeah, no, there's a whole wealth of possibilities right there. But go ahead, you had a bone to pick with TK.
Oh yeah. Get on the phone and call Dragon Lee back, you jerk. Call him back. You signed his brother. Now go get him. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know what we're doing. You had him on 2 of your shows.
Yeah.
And what did he do in those 2 shows? He delivered.
Yeah.
Yet somehow you didn't go out there and hand him a contract. And I'm not saying Bandito didn't deserve it. Bandito absolutely deserved it. Look at my Bandito mask back here. Look at that.
It's a great mask.
Bandito's sick. I love Bandito. Dude's awesome. Happy he's potentially in AEW. I don't know if he's going to start.
I'm just going to say yes. I'm just going to say yes.
But, like, get Dragon Lee too. Just get cooking. Get cooking. Ring of Honor brought in the right guys.
Yeah.
They did. They brought in the right guys. It's just a matter of using them. And I love Dragon Lee, so I'd like to see him more because otherwise I have to try to find a Triple H show, which production-wise I just want to cry usually. So.
Let's talk more about contract news for AEW. The big one that we haven't really talked about at all is Malachi Black. So last week, maybe 2 weeks ago, he puts out a statement on Instagram. Let me see if I can pull up that statement here, just so I have it in front of me. Malachi Black Instagram. So basically, he pulls out a statement on Instagram saying, that he's stepping away from wrestling. He's had a lot of mental health issues, physical health issues, and I don't blame him whatsoever with all that. But he is saying things about he is saying that he is against private conversations between himself and AEW. Is very true. I don't like that either. But he says basically in terms of contract stuff that, quote, this is a direct quote, "I did indeed ask for my release. The last 2 years of my life have led to a lot of setbacks. This decision has been in my mind for the past 6 months." Then earlier this week, Malachi Black does an Instagram live saying that he is denying reports that he said that he asked for his release. Quote, "That is false. I don't know why you trust these people to tell you the truth because it's not true." He said that he had been given time off by Tony Khan and speculation about his release being confirmed was not true. Quote, "It's not confirmed. Clearly it's not confirmed. None of it has been confirmed because I haven't left. I've been given time off by Tony Khan to take care of a bunch of stuff. All this stuff was weeks ago. I posted that statement as a summary to understand why I am taking some time off. It is in that statement. It's mind-boggling. I'll see you guys in a couple weeks, maybe a couple months. Basically, he will be back at some point." So, what is up with this guy? Really going back and forth on what he is doing and where he is going and how things are. The same day that Instagram live came out, Tony Khan, there was also a report saying that Tony Khan has laid down the law on he is not granting releases for wrestlers in the company of AEW. Malachi Black obviously being one of them. So what do you think? How do you feel about this whole situation?
I think the release thing is kind of ridiculous. I think if people don't want to be there, then just get rid of them. Like, I understand you don't want to give away talent to go to WWE, but at a certain point, it's like, how do you benefit if someone doesn't want to be there? Right? And it's like, what are you going to do? You're going to pull Vince McMahon, pull him from TV and not put him on? Is that what you're going to do? Don't do that. Just don't do that. Like, I think if someone wants to go, then just let them go. That's their choice. If they want out of an AEW contract, you just let them go because you want the guys who are there to ride, right? You want the girls, you want the people that are there to be part of that brand and grow that brand. So to me, if they want out, bye-bye. See you later. On the Malachi Black stuff, I mean, I have been relatively quiet, and then we have as a show just not talk about it because it's like we don't know, right? We don't know what's going on. But once he talks about it and says he didn't ask for his release despite saying he did previously, it's like, all right, well, gotta talk about it. I think he's gonna be back. I do. I don't think he's kidding now. I think, you and me have talked about something probably did change, right?
Yeah.
Something did change. But I also understand why he would have wanted to go back, truthfully. His wife works there, right?
Yep.
He was treated well by Triple H. It's not like he wasn't. Triple H gave him the NXT championship. He made him a vocal part of NXT back when, that was a thing. So like there's multiple reasons to understand why he would want to go back.
Yeah.
But if he's saying he's not going back, he's staying with AEW, then I'm just gonna believe him because I have no other reason not to. I hope he takes care of whatever he needs to take care of. And I do hope he comes back. I actually enjoy the House of Black when they're actually doing things and not just doing promos, which I'm sure is part of the problem of why he was probably unhappy, is that they did really have no direction for the longest time too. But again, I don't know. I'm not going to assume anything, especially with mental health or whatever.
Yeah.
So he can decide what he wants to. He's a big boy. I think he can handle it. But that's kind of my whole take on the release thing. It's like, all right, if someone wants out, they don't want to be there, then why even try to unless it's like your biggest star, right? And there's levels to this, right?
We'll say CM Punk. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Just throwing
if CM Punk doesn't, guess what? CM Punk's not walking over to the other company. I tell you that right now. So that's a different case. He's not going to walk over to WWE. I'm sorry. Him and Triple H never got along.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's changing overnight. Like if it's Kenny Omega or the Young Bucks, I understand why you're not just handing out a release. Be like, yeah, go ahead. See ya. Have fun.
Yeah.
It's like you got to fight for certain people, but at the end of the day, you have your guys who want to be there and fight with you, right? You got Jericho, you got Moxley, you got Danielson. If they belong in that mindset, you keep them. But if someone wants out, that's a Buddy Matthews per se. Is it that big of a deal? Is it?
I'll take the other side of the coin. I think, for the argument's sake, I think that having just releasing guys if they want to get released is a very slippery slope. I think
it is, but it's like this is how jobs work. If I want to quit my job, I get to leave.
Yeah, but and that's fine. But at the same time, it's like I don't know. I think it's like and we've been hearing it also all week from other people, is that like this idea of like the difference really is also though is that like AEW's contracts are more valuable as to a certain extent than WWE contracts. Being basically a rolling 90-day contract, and at any point they can cut you. Here it's like they in AEW they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna honor your contract. The only time they've ever cut people was for like disciplinary reasons, really. They always served out contracts, even with wrestlers they didn't want to use anymore. Joey Janela, Marco Stunt, the list goes on. Of wrestlers they don't want to use them anymore, they still honor their contract. And so I think that having the ability, and that's because that's the other thing, is that let's say the reverse of this. Let's say that Tony Khan does allow wrestlers to walk out on their contract. One, it devalues his contracts immediately in AEW. It's bad business on his end, I would say, as the promoter, is like he wants two people on the contract. If people just walk out, then what's the point of having a contract?
Yeah.
And if you have another instance, like Triple H calling a bunch of people saying, hey, get out of your contract, then suddenly Tony Khan would have like 15 guys. I have no idea. A bunch of guys being like, all right, see ya, and walking out the door and going to the other company.
But a lot of people said no.
That's I know. Like, I'm just pulling.
It comes down to a loyalty thing.
I'm just pulling 15 people out of my butt. I'm not saying that's anyone. I have no idea.
Like, if people want to be there, they're going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's like I'm sure none of your top talent are asking. You know why? Because they're top talent, right?
They're booked well.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think the best way to work with it is if you're not going. I just don't like the idea of I'm not giving out releases.
Mm-hmm.
Like that shouldn't be like. It comes down to situational, right? It comes down to situational. Like if Malachi Black needed out for mental health reasons or whatever it may be, then yeah, here you go. But I also understand where he came from of, okay, take a break. We'll see what happens. That works too. And that's kind of my whole problem is him just saying it. Like, or he didn't say it, but the report that he's just absolutely not doing it or they're not doing it. It's like you gotta play the game here. If someone's really unhappy or if someone just doesn't want to be part of your brand, I just don't like the idea of being like, all right, well, we're gonna ice you for the next 4 years of your contract.
Well,
like
we also
Impact is done multiple times.
We also don't
right?
know if that is what he is going
I'm
to do.
assuming they haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's true.
We also, I mean, I'm trying to think back to how Marco Stunt and Joey Janela, people like that,
Well, they wanted to work.
Yeah, they wanted. Like, I'm trying to think.
They wanted to work with them. It's just like it's situational in the fact that what does that person want to do, right? Like, just don't become the company that. Just don't become like every other promoter either, where it's like, oh, you want out? You're iced. Like, remember when Killer Cross got iced by Impact of all places?
Yeah.
Scarlett got iced and like couldn't pay for like her life or something. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
Lady Frost, I think's iced right now, which, that's punny.
What is that? Those are my jokes. How dare you?
But like, I don't know. I don't want that to happen. And if that is the case, where some people just need out, and you're like, no, it's like, all right, well, then you're just kind of being like every other promoter. But I get your point too. It's like you don't want to just become the guy. It's like, oh, you want to go to the other place here? Have yeah, go make them money. Like I get that too. It's a slippery slope, absolutely. But you gotta find a fine line. I don't think the fine line is absolutely not. I'm not letting you go. Like, and if I don't, that was reported. Of course, it's not Tony Khan tweeting out, which he tweets out a lot of things, but he didn't tweet out. Yeah, I'm not letting anyone go. So
it was reported by Dave on the Wrestling Observer on Monday.
Yeah. I didn't think he was like just going around. I'm not going to take this fucking shit. Like I'm sure that's not what he said. But again, it's situational. I just don't like the idea if that's the case of, yeah, no, you want out, you're unhappy, too bad.
Yeah, I get what
could be the case.
I get where you're coming from. I mean, my reaction to that is like if let's say I'm Buddy Matthews, right? I'm dating Rhea Ripley. I'm Australian. I'm in Australia dealing with visa issues. Whatever.
There's a lot of frustration going on.
A lot of frustration. Sure. I feel like my booking should be better, and I think all wrestlers, top up and down the card, probably have these thoughts of, I mean, booking could be better. Every wrestler dream. The joke of every wrestler dreams that they could be in the main event of WrestleMania. It's like, oh, every wrestler believes they should be booked to be in the main event of WrestleMania. Right. So I'm Buddy Matthews, right? If I'm not getting released,
well, Buddy Matthews is like my prime example of this conversation.
Yeah.
Like, really, if you really need to keep him,
but that's also the other thing. Malachi Black, like you said, has maybe reasons of wanting you want to cut because he might just not wrestle or all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Buddy Matthews has no reason, seemingly, to want to be out of his contract if that's the case. Like, just
except for booking, I guess.
Yeah,
that's
like I said, every wrestler is upset about their booking. So who gives a shit about Buddy Matthews?
I don't think Jon Moxley is.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's probably true. But anyways, so let's say I'm Buddy Matthews. Let's say I think my booking is bad. I'm currently dealing with visa issues, and I'm thinking, okay, what do I need to do to make sure, what if I'm not going to get out of my contract? What do I do? Do I get on ice for the rest of my contract, however long it is, or do I outwork my contract? Whenever I have time, be the best wrestler and have the best match with whoever I'm wrestling so that Tony Khan has to book me more? Or if my contract ends, then I can get a better contract with another company, supposedly.
Yeah, I mean, this is the game I also played when WWE was the only person, like people in town, and remember all those people were asking to be released. Oh, I use Mike Kanellis, Mike Bennett as an example, because he signed a new contract and then he immediately wanted out. I was like, well, that was your fault.
Yeah, it's like
it goes both ways. It can be talent's fault. It can be promoter's fault. It depends on, and that's why I think we have come to the ultimate conclusion that it is in fact situation.
Yeah,
it's like whatever. But I'm sick of contract news. We can move on.
Well, good, because that's all we got. What we do have now is talking about.
I'm not talking about. I have decided I'm not going to talk about the Saraya, Britt Baker stuff. I am going into a positive mindset the rest of the show because I can't do it.
Copy that.
It was terrible though. It was bad. It was bad. That's all I'm going to say. It was bad.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Stardom 5-star Grand Prix final.
Not bad.
Not bad. Officially confirmed. Not bad. Great show. Great show, right?
This won't shock anyone, but it is my show of the year. It 2 years running now. It probably will end my year's show of the year because there's just something about it. You know, we watched the tournament for 2-3 months, yet it feels like it's a one-night tournament in a lot of respects too. Right? Like you do all this build up, and then you get to the last night, and you're like, "Oh my god, there's so much like to go here." You got all these awesome matches throughout, but now it's this, right? And I actually overslept when I was watching this first time ever. I know. I missed the first 3 matches, which was terrifying. For me, because I had to go back and watch Suzuki and Momo. And so when I watched it, I was like, I probably would have died when Hazuki hit the brain buster on Momo, because I was like, oh, that would have been it. And when they pulled out the ref, I would have like lost it. And I was like, that was the one thing I was really upset about, and that's only because of my fault. But like top to bottom, great matches. I think only like 1 or 2 matches missed the mark in terms of just of like where you at least expectations. If not, they went higher. Only one missed the mark, and it was because one of them is a champion. And I think you just have grown to expect something from them. So that's why it missed the mark. But everything else, from drama to emotion to just the way they design this final day, so everything feels like it matters. And even the matches that didn't matter still mattered. And I'm going to talk about that in a second with what might be my favorite match from the tournament, even though it didn't have the stakes anymore. It was just a fantastic night. 13 matches, and it truly didn't feel like 13 matches. And if you can accomplish that, which AEW usually doesn't for me, and it's because some of the matches were quick too, right? It's like, all right. I mean, there was a match that was 30 seconds on this show.
Yeah, 44.
And it was a great. It was a great sub-minute match.
4-star 1-minute match for Scotty Edwards.
I think Alex gave it 4 stars in his rating.
What a fool.
Perfection.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the show. I thought it was a fantastic show. Let's talk about that final match, of course. That's the big headliner, the big news, the main event. Julia versus Tam Nakano, both the winners of the Blue and Red Stars, respectively. Blue Red Stars block, respectively. Competed in the final. 17 minutes and 28 seconds later, it was, in fact, Julia who won the final match, meaning she was the winner of the 5-star Grand Prix. Scotty, I feel like you called it from day one. How do you feel? How do you feel about Julia winning, and how do you feel about this match?
I did call it from day one. I called the exact final from day one, but it's fine. I'm not gonna.
You can have You can have a victory lap if you like.
It's okay. I'm gonna have a victory lap on like 4 different shows this week. It's fine. I'm only on lap 1 here. I'll finish the race on everything else. But this was everything it needed to be in terms of the final, the match, the winner. It it's been 3 years in the making of Julia getting here, and I've never I've never had a like more satisfying, predictable winner than this one because like every year you kind of watch, right? And it's like, all right, predictable winners can kind of ruin certain things. Like, watch the G1 this year. You knew Okada was winning. I think a lot of people assumed Okada was winning. He did.
Yeah.
But it wasn't necessarily ruined because they had a great final. And I think Julia just had another just top to bottom phenomenal tournament with countless matches worth going on your way to see, right? It's like with Starlight Kid and Mayu and Momo and Suzy Suzuki here on the final night, and then of course Tam in the final. She just had a story with everyone, and that's kind of what we talked about at the beginning of this tournament. Was that she had stories with everyone, and it would enhance her tournament, it would enhance her matches, and ultimately it did. I couldn't have picked a better person for her to fight in the finals. I saw people saying, "Oh, I would have loved for Tommy." Listen, people, that is a Ryogoku, Osaka Joe Hall. Hell, even if they ever, they're not going to save it this long. But if they were to go to Tokyo, if they were ready for the Tokyo Dome, that would be that match. They're not ready yet, but I'm just saying, Osaka Joe Hall. That's the match you put on as your main event to fill that place because you haven't done it. You've stayed away from it. You're not giving it away here at the end of the tournament. What you're going to do is you're going to continue the feud between her and Tam Nakano. They were tied at 2 apiece going into this in terms of singles matches.
Mm-hmm.
You have an instant story. You don't have to work into it. It was perfect. It was perfect. And I saw some people complain about, oh, well, Julia, when she went up for the glorious driver on the apron, they fell. And I was like, to me, with a final like this, and I think this is important, you had a match earlier in the night, right? Especially Julia, but a very physical, emotional match with Suzy Suzuki.
Mm-hmm. Very emotional.
It should never be perfect.
Yeah.
Right? The match that follows should never be perfect because you're hurt, you're in pain, it's going to be rugged, it's going to be rough. And I don't think that ruined anything because of what they would do after the fact, right? Mm-hmm. The tiger suplex. Are you kidding me? Where Julia got folded by Tam. I think everyone saw it by now. There's videos on Twitter if you missed it, where she literally landed on her neck and then got up, the spirited fighting style, got up there, did something else. They slapped the taste out of each other's mouth. Literally, Julia was spitting it was great. And then they're hitting each other's moves at the end. And then finally she puts her away with the Northern Lights bomb. It was a satisfying ending to another phenomenal tournament by Stardom.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think this was a really solid tournament with a very solid ending. I think there were some moments where I was just like, all right, okay, let's move on because there's a lot of shows, right? There's 20 shows. So I had moments
I think there were people that got to that point. They were tired by the end.
Yeah, and I think that's we have that with like the G1, we have that with the N1, we have it with any other show promotions tournament.
It just was extended longer because they didn't do it all in a month.
Yeah, and I think that's also part of why I had moments like that where it was just like, okay, because the G1 takes place over the course of like 3 weeks, where this was like over the course of, I don't know, 3 months. So you get a little bit of that feeling, but that that to the side. Great final night. Just some great matches throughout the show. I think the 15-minute time limit was a great addition or change, I should say, to the show, to the tournament, and it made it easier to watch. Having the same amount of matches at 20 minutes is harder than the same amount of matches at 15 minutes. Made it totally easier to watch. I probably would have like tapped out earlier if it was like 20-minute matches every single night. But yeah, no, but it wasn't. It was a good, solid watch throughout the tournament. I enjoyed myself. Julia is a great pick. She had a great, I think she had a really solid tournament. She had a lot of great matches that you sort of talked about. Um, her match against Suzy Suzuki was very emotional right from the jump. And then this match itself, that sort of that continuation of the rivalry, redemption story as well, kind of. The it's almost the culmination of that story from Tam Nakano, of rivalry of Tam Nakano, and then losing her hair, and then deciding, you know what, I'm going to start from the bottom and work my way back up to feel when to get to World of Stardom challenger or title holder, ideally. She did that. She did it a little quicker than some people thought, but she did that. She worked very hard. It went over the course of like 2 years. Growing and growing, getting better and better. 2 years later, ultimately winning the 5-star, which is, of course, first time for her. And now she's going off to Dream Queendom and taking on a former tag partner of hers. So that is, I think this is a great story that has been unfolding for Julia. It really feels like Julia, this is her time to win the World of Stardom title. I do have some reservations just because the last 3 people that have won this, or the last 2 people that won this, have won the title, have won the World of Stardom title, won this, and gone on to win the World of Stardom title, I should say. So do we get that for a 3rd time with Julia? I don't know. That's my only reservation. But other than that, the story definitely feels like Julia has to have it here. But we'll see, I guess.
I think what's important for them is that if and when Julia wins it this time around, which she will, because this is the 2nd time she's fighting Shuri too, so it's almost like, this has to happen, is that her reign cannot last until the next GP. It can't.
Yeah.
Right? I thought Shuri shouldn't. It did. Because you don't want to become predictable at the end of the day, right? You don't want to have year-long reign, GP winner. Year-long reign, GP winner. Year-long, like, you don't want to keep doing that.
Yeah.
And you're doing that right now with both of the titles now, right? Because the Wonder is now going to go on a year. All things, like, that's not changing, right? Mina Shirakawa's not winning it. Suzy Suzuki's not winning it. It's going to Dream Queendom, which will both be year-long reigns, exact to the date.
Which, so to be fair, we also don't know if Kyrie was supposed to win it.
Yeah, which, again, I will never know. But that is the game that you now kind of play. You're gonna have to switch it up. But there is no one that should be winning that title or should have won that title more than Julia for the past 2 years now. And now we're finally getting it. It's been like, it's probably been a 1.5-year journey for her to lose that white belt, get her hair shaved, build herself back up, face injury in the 5-star last year, get kicked out of it, rebuild again, come back, have a title match, fail again, lose Donna Del Mondo, almost like the whole group, watch people leave.
Lose her eyeball.
Yes, lose her eyeball, lose her God's eye, battle back, lose Natsupoi, get pissed off, start the tournament at 0-2, and then go on an absolute run to win the whole thing. It's been a very well told story. They need to complete it now. And then you start to shake up booking, of course. But I can't get mad at something that's worked for the past 2 years, right? It's hard to get mad at Utami and Shuri getting the reigns that they did because of what they've done. But I agree, like, Julia can have a 200-day reign and lose. Like, there's no problem with that. It makes sense. Yeah, and that's what they should do. Avoid her going into the GP with the title.
Yeah, I just have those reservations, and it's also like I look at it, I'm like, but at the same time,
tips their hand a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, at the same time,
they're not going to be sneaky about it.
I know, but I'm saying that like at the same time, if there ever was someone to lose on this third year, Julia's not a bad pick to build up
Yeah.
a main event title match at your biggest show and lose. That's like it wouldn't be against her story to lose, I think.
Right.
It would just
It
be
wouldn't be against her story, but at the same time, her story since the moment she signed
Mhm.
is to win this goddamn belt. And I just need her to win this damn belt because truly it frees up everything.
Yeah.
Like ever since she walked into Stardom, it's been all right. All roads point to her winning that belt. And we have watched, I still think it got extended a year
Yeah.
because she missed the GP. I really do. I don't think Shuri was going to win that. And we're still waiting. We're
Yeah.
still waiting. We're still waiting. We're still waiting. We're still waiting. We're still waiting. Get it out of the way, because then I have no idea who's the next World of Stardom champion. I have no clue after that, and that's the beautiful thing.
Yeah. It could be anybody. And maybe it's Kyrie, maybe it's Psyakamatani, maybe it's I don't know. We'll find out, I guess. But let's talk about the rest of the card here as well. Of course, let's
The
start
rest of the
with
card had matches that I liked better.
Better than the final.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Well, that's surprising to me. But let's talk about let's do
Not originally, but it has changed. I've changed my mind.
Okay.
I rewatched some things.
Okay, well let's
I
start
rewatched the final and I rewatched one other match, but we'll talk.
Let's start off with the A block. We'll just go from top down. That's Mirai defeated Saya Ida in 6 minutes and 52 seconds. Doing my girl Saya Ida dirty, but I get it. They're gonna book Mirai. They're gonna book her well. She's gonna get a very good point total in this block. Tied at second with 3 other people for Mirai in the block.
She technically finishes an official second.
Yeah,
she beat the other 2.
Oh, really? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess that's fine. But throw some Saida some bones here, Rossi. What are you doing?
I actually thought this match was very good for what it was. I mean, it had no stakes. It had no history.
Mm-hmm.
It was as much of a all right. Well, this is a tournament match, so we're doing it. But I thought they did really good work. I think Mirai had a great tournament. I think Saida had a really good tournament, even though she was never going to win much.
Yeah.
She put on good performances, and she was like, out of like the lower talent that were in this, she was by far the best.
Yeah, I thought this was a very good match between the two, as well. But again, Saida, come on, just throw her a couple bones. Another block
They
A
did.
match.
They had her beat Momo.
Yeah, I guess that's good enough.
And Hazuki.
That's also true. Fine. Thank you. Block A match as well. Mina Shirakawa defeats Natsupoi in 7 minutes and 50 seconds.
Someone needs to tell Mina Shirakawa not to try to do this Tam Nakano stuff, because only Tam Nakano can do Tam Nakano stuff. I promise you that Mina Shirakawa cannot. But I thought the match was fine. Natsupoi sold everything like death. That was my biggest takeaway. Like the dragon screw from the top rope. I was like, oh my god, Natsupoi is dead. Like, this poor girl. She's like such a good baby face. I also, it's become a running joke now, but like, I am not a big Mina Shirakawa fan, and I very much admit that.
It's not a running joke. I remember the first time we started watching, or I really started watching Stardom. I was saying I kind of like Mina Shirakawa. And I remember you being like, no, don't like her.
She's only good in the tournament. Yeah. That's the only time of the entire year that she's good, and then she stops.
Mm-hmm.
And that leaves me with the problem of, okay, so you can do this, but you don't. And I don't even think
I call it
her best isn't even that good.
I call it Taguchi syndrome.
Wow,
I call it
tough.
Where it's
everyone hears that.
Where when Mina Shirakawa most of the year is just like a fine wrestler, but
she was legitimately bad this year.
But when
before the tournament,
when she gets the tap on the shoulder, she turns it on. She turns it up.
She turns it on that she can maybe touch a high 3. Anyways.
How dare you? How dare you?
I'm done talking about Mia Shirk. She had the best match of her career in this tournament.
Yeah.
Against Psyakamatani. That was biggest win, biggest match.
Mm-hmm.
Good for her. Good for Mina. She won on the final night though.
There's some love.
She beat Poi, so that sucked.
There's some love. Momo Watanabe defeated Hazuki in 10 minutes and 34 seconds. Obviously, this was a big block determiner match. Momo got the win here over Hazuki, so pretty good.
Just know, everyone, Hazuki had the mental pin. She had the visible pin. She won this block.
Mm-hmm.
But a wait of time made sure Julia won this block.
It really feels right there. That's a real, months from now, Julia wins the title.
Yeah.
Hazuki challenges for this exact reason.
She also beat Julia in this tournament, so 2 claims now.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was a great match. You had the Oeo Tai stuff, but Momo and Hazuki do no wrong. They hit each other very hard at all points of the match.
Yep.
And Momo just went murder street on poor Hazuki at the end. I think she hit her. She punted her, and then she hit her with the Peach Thunder, which is terrifying. Because she's rolling the person, and slight miss. She's also in her Sting era now, so she's infinitely better. She now has a bat instead of a wrench. She snapped her bat, which was tough, but good swing. She would have killed Hazuki if Hazuki didn't move. I was like, oh my god, you didn't hold back at all. I know you were trying to snap the bat, but Jesus.
Yeah. Very good hard-hitting fight here. Exactly what it would say on the tin for a match between these two. You get the shenanigans at the end of the match, of course, but it is what it is. But very, very good match. I really enjoyed it. Block A match as well. Ami Sourei versus Psyakamatani double count out here.
There it is. The most upsetting match of the night, but it's not shocking because I think Ami Sourei is kind of garbage. So
yeah, so let's talk about. I want to talk about both of them, Ami Sourei and Psyakamatani. Ami Sourei, I feel like shined. I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say the past tense of shine.
Oh, okay. Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah,
shined.
She shined. She shined. I feel like she shined bright at the very beginning of her Stardom career, and I feel like she's settling into just she's good. And then
she's a tree.
She's a tree. In what way?
She's a tree. And I have yet to put this. I don't say this on my Joshi podcasts, but I will say this on this one because she's a tree in the way that she works fine. She's steady. She's sturdy, but she has no emotion, no flair, nothing. And me and Alex talked about this. She's not very good against the other the people that are fast and agile.
Mm-hmm.
They do not mesh well with her.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I think Hazuki actually had the best match for Ami this tournament. Mm-hmm. But high flying, high speed, Hazuki doesn't necessarily go high speed, or she doesn't fly either. So it's it's a different thing. But this match was very off. Thought it was the worst match of the night. Even including every match on this card that with expectations. I mean, Unagi and Momokogo is what did you expect? It was fine. It was for example, that match didn't go under expectations. I think they did
the expectations were lower for that one. Yeah.
This match, I see Psyakamatani's name, and after the year she's had, I'm like, all right, this should be great. And it wasn't. And the double count out doesn't help them either. That was just another all right, let's see how many things we can put against you here.
Yeah, I mean she's only been wrestling for 3 years, Ami Sourei. So I guess there's that, but at the same time, 150
she's
matches.
A tree.
Yeah, she's kind of settled into what she's going to be.
150 matches is the same amount that Arisa Shiki had in her career. Mm-hmm. Arisa Shiki is prodigy, so it's unfair to compare, but yeah, I will always bring up Arisa Shiki when I can. So.
Psyakamatani, again, getting the double count here. I didn't really like the double count either as well. I think that also played into just not being good.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
How do you feel about her 5-star run? I feel like she had a great start of the year, and this 5-star run, I don't think I was too jazzed about the whole thing.
She's interesting to me because I said this week that her match with Julia specifically highlighted her tournament, and it's that it didn't involve a lot of her flair, or her specialty. She had the match that she had with Suzuki, I thought was great. That was like the one match that felt like one of her title matches, if that makes sense. But everything else, it was just missing something. It was missing the Psyakamatani flair to it. It kind of reminded me of Tam's run last year while she was Wonder of Stardom champion, and that Tam had some good matches, but she didn't stand out like she had the rest of the year. And I think that's okay, because she was in a block where a lot of people stood out. She was in the most strongest block. It's okay. It's also like, okay, well, I still expected more because you were in the stronger block. But so was Tam Nakano last year. So that's the conversation. Just thinking to her matches, I don't have her lineup here necessarily, but like the Julia one was underwhelming.
I'll pull it up real quick. Here we go.
The Starlight Kid one was good, but nothing to the point. Her Mayu Watani match was really underwhelming.
Here, I'll give you the run real quick. Here we go. Psyakamatani versus Starlight Kid, versus Momo Watanabe, versus Hanan. You have any quick thoughts about any of these while I'm going through it? Please go ahead.
No.
Versus Hanan. Psyakamatani versus Natsupoi.
That was underwhelming.
Psyakamatani versus Hazuki. Psyakamatani versus Mayu Watani.
That one killed me inside, because it's like
that one. The expectations were higher.
I understand. Like, I am always singing the praises of Mayu, but that was a
disappointment.
Very much so.
Versus Sayada, versus Suzy Suzuki.
I don't remember the Sayada one. I'm not gonna lie to you there.
Versus Suzy Suzuki. Time limit draw against Mirai.
That one was good. The one with Suzy Suzuki. That was the first one. Wait a minute. Did you say the Hazuki one first?
Yes.
Already?
Yes.
All right. So that one was the first one where I was like, okay, this is Saya.
Yep.
Her matches with her and Suzy Suzuki are the main ones that jump out to me. It's like, oh, this is Psyakamatani.
Yeah.
Everything else is like, oh, it was good. It was very good, but it wasn't your world title.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
Then she had Mirai, then Mina Shirakawa.
I actually like the Mirai match.
Mina Shirakawa, then Julia, then Ami Sarai. So, yeah,
the Mina Shirakawa one I thought was the best match of Mina's career, but that doesn't necessarily mean it was the Psyakamatani level. This year.
Look, Psyakamatani for this 5-star. Look, if I had to recommend any matches for her, if you were a fan of Psyakamatani like I am, it's watch any match where it's her against someone with a last name that rhymes with Azuki. That's really where you're gonna find the gold.
Those were the two best by far.
Yeah,
I think.
I think it's just
Hazuki one's like that was a championship level match, because there were stakes in that too. Hazuki was undefeated going into it.
Yeah.
And of course, it's the one match I wanted Saya to lose, so that it was a title match, and she did it. But it's fine. But yeah, it was an interesting road. Like, if I was to go through the tournament, which I'm not going to, but if I was, it'd be like looking around, just through the Blue Stars block. I think Mayu had a better tournament. I think Julia had a better tournament. I think Starlight Kid had a better tournament. I think Momo, I think Momo turned it on at the end with her last 4 matches to have a better tournament.
Yep. I'll say Suzuki and Hazuki.
Hazuki had a better tournament. Suzy Suzuki had a better tournament. And then there's the Red Stars block too of, they're wrestling weaker talent. You got to remember that too. So it's like you got to almost grade on a scale.
Yeah.
Right? Because the Blue Stars block was so strong. So like Utami and Tam and Shuriel probably had better like just natural tournaments, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Which that's almost 10. Micah probably did too.
Yeah.
Off the top of my head. I mean, Micah just had great matches. So it's like, okay, so that brings her down to like 10th best or so.
Yeah, she's
and
definitely
like,
she's definitely
expect her
bottom
to be in that top 5 heading in, right?
I do. Moving on to the next match, Mayu Watani versus Starlight Kid. Mayu Watani got the win here over Starlight Kid. I was thinking during this match that, this is the kind of match that makes me curse the invention of the SWA title and its rules, because I want to see this match again for a title,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to see it for a while.
So this might have been, and I'm saying this now. I think I tweeted this last night because I rewatched it because I was thinking about it ever since I watched it the first time, and so much happened after this, like on the entire show. So I was like, did I like this as much as I think I did?
Mm-hmm.
And I watched it, I was like, oh, I did. This might be, and people are gonna be shocked, might be my favorite match to the tournament, strictly because one, the action was obviously great, but the story that these two have outclasses even the Suzu Julia story that I was more excited for. That I was so excited for, not more, because at the end of the day, the story is that Starlight Kid wants to get to the level of Mayu Watani.
Yes.
And we saw it last year. She didn't have enough on the final night.
Also,
right?
Also in a weird way, Mayu also wants Starlight Kid to be at the level.
Yes,
of
exactly.
Mayu.
And you saw it in this match, right? So Starlight Kid failed last year. It was very early in her run with the Oedo Tai.
Yes.
Advance a year forward. She's had multiple title reigns. She's won the high speed, tag team, and artist. She's added new moves to her catalog, right? She has the Black Tiger tombstone type thing. She's got the numero dos, which I think she does so incredibly well. I think that's changed Starlight Kid's overall in-ring game completely, which is crazy because I usually don't like submissions all that much, but she does it really well with the dragon screws and all that. She added the Eternal Foe, which is the Spanish fly off the top rope. She added all these new moves to her repertoire.
Yeah.
And she goes in there against Mayu Watani, and the first thing they do after like their quick thing is smile at each other, because to go on to your thing of Mayu wants you to get to that level too.
Yeah.
But she's not just gonna let you.
No.
And it's like that's the little game that they play so well. And the moment that Starlight Kid beats Mayu, it's going to be a massive deal. Right?
Yeah. Mayu is 5-0 now against Starlight Kid.
Yeah. It's going to be a gigantic deal. Even if she got to a draw, which I thought they might have considered here, had they went into the final night with more stakes. They didn't have. That's the thing about this match, why I loved it so much. There was no stakes except for the stakes between these two.
The stakes between that's part, that one right there.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, nailed it. And just the way that they interacted throughout the match, and Starlight Kid getting like so frustrated at the end that she just starts wailing at Mayu, and then Mayu pretty much kills her.
Yeah.
Right? She catches her with the tombstone, which was, the tombstone was so good because she didn't catch her clean, and then she just dropped her.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, oh, why did you do that? She got sick of it. And then she plants it with the dragon suplex. And then after the match, you got Kid just like, I just want to beat you. I just want to, like, it's not even like her winning the title will get her to the Mayu Utami's level in her head. She needs to beat Mayu, and she just can't do it. And I think selfishly, because Mayu obviously is my favorite wrestler, but I think Kid's just like, she's become such a special talent.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is the most enjoyable story for me to watch because it's natural.
Yeah.
It's very natural. And it's I love this match. I love the next match, and I love the final. If you ask me which was my favorite of the three, probably switching on the day, truthfully. But this one, this is the match that's going to carry more, I think, into Stardom's history than, I guess, the final, obviously, because it's the final. But like, this means a lot moving forward, because I do think we are seeing the icon still push off the air to being that next icon face of Stardom. She's still pushing her off a little bit.
It's very it's very equivalent to like the Osprey Okada story that's currently happening.
Yeah.
Just this idea of like I'm gonna try, and I wouldn't be surprised if the first time
on each other.
Yep. I wouldn't be surprised if the first time Starlight Kid gets a win over Mayu is going to be some sort of cheap victory, some sort of interference.
That's the best part. Her biggest goal is to not be cheap.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
If she ever does it, she's going to be upset.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Right? Like, that's great. It's just
but that's the storytelling right there. Is what matters more to you? The honor or the win.
And it's been the honor so far, and she's lost her shot at. I mean, she didn't technically have a shot tonight, but last year she did. Had she beat Mayu, she would have won the block.
Yeah,
and she didn't use heel tactics. And
that's true.
Again, here you didn't see a thing of a Uedo tie.
Nope.
Right? That's the cool part about this. Like, you watched the Momo match from earlier, you saw the Uedo tie stuff. They didn't do it all in here. It was pretty much like, and they'll show you these things, and I wish they did. But like, Starlight Kid's like, I got this. Kind of like you saw, I think, this past week, like Darby's like, I'm not bringing Sting or whatever, like that kind of thing. Like, I'm not bringing my help. I want to beat you. And it's like such a simple story. It's the passing of the torch that just hasn't happened yet.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fun to watch. It's just the great story of Stardom that I will forever love.
I also say, I've been saying before, it's probably going to be Kairi, but Starlight Kid would be a fantastic first ever IWGP Women's Champion. Assuming that Mayu is not also in the tournament, because she'll lose.
Mayu's officially in the tournament.
Okay, great.
Because she had more points than Hazuki with the win.
Oh, they did. Is that how they did it?
Yeah. So they ultimately decided by points. Except Julia won't be in it, I'm sure, because she won the 5-star. So it'll be Himeka and Micah, which again,
they might do a match
little cloudy there because they went to a draw.
Well, it's an angle to set up a match.
What they'll do? They'll just put Tekla. They'll be like, you didn't get a shot. Here you go.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. Tekla.
She's fine. I miss Tekla.
Me too.
She should be back. I mean, she was in the muscle contest.
I know. Where is she? But like you said, we talked about it a little bit. Julia versus Suzy Suzuki. Very emotional match from the jump. Between these two,
I was not ready for the tears.
Yeah, just tears from the get go, especially from Suzu. I just was like, "Whoa, all right, Suzu." This was a great match.
Awesome match.
Great story as well. Someone tweeted it out talking about that story about how Suzu, all she wanted to do was face Julia. Julia wanted to open her up to the rest of Stardom after this match. Suzu was like, "All right, I want to face the rest of Stardom. I'm ready."
Suzu's not going anywhere.
Yeah, I say that after pretty much facing the entire roster in the 5-star, but
she saved so much in those matches. That's the scary thing. I don't know if people like. A lot of people that saw Suzu, I know you've seen Suzu for the first time through this tournament or through Stardom.
Yeah,
she has like another 3 gears.
Yeah,
which is terrifying.
Yeah,
she's one of the best. Not in just Joshi, she's one of the best in the world already. She turned 20 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Azumi turned 20 yesterday. It's just ridiculous. And I think Suzy Suzuki is 2 levels above Azumi, which is just, if you've seen Azumi wrestle, you're like, what?
I've said it before about Suzu, and I think Suzu is watching Suzy Suzuki work right now feels like, and this is my ceiling for her, feels like getting in on the ground floor of the next Mako Satomura. That's what it feels like, and I don't know, obviously, because I wasn't on the ground floor of Mako Satomura, but I feel like that is her ceiling, is being
the Hokuto match probably helped you.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. It kind of did, actually, but the idea that I think Suzu has the ability maybe to be an all-time Joshi legend. That's her. That is her ceiling for me, and that is high.
Her ceiling is all timer.
Yes,
and that's as high as you can
go. Yeah.
So
I think it's possible.
I mean, great match. Finishes her great tournament. Mm-hmm. She's probably my MVP. Truthfully, I mean, if I wasn't to pick a non-winner, I think Julia obviously had a phenomenal tournament. She has an extra match to help her.
Yep.
Everything Suzu did delivered in one aspect or another.
Yep.
I think that's my best way to look at it, right? Like, we were talking about Psyakamatani, you kind of expected a little more. Suzy Suzuki, like, the scary part is you could have expected more.
Yeah.
But you didn't have to, because she delivered. Her match with Mariah in the open of this tournament. I'm using this show just to talk about everyone's tournament because it's the best way to do so.
Of course.
But like, her match with Mariah was fantastic. Her match with Psyakamatani, her match with Julia, her match with Starlight Kid, of course. Mm-hmm. Just fantastic tournament. Her floor is higher than like most of this roster, and that's ridiculous.
That's terrifying.
Stardom has the best women's roster we've seen since the days of AEW.
Yeah, I agree.
She has a higher floor than like half the field, at least.
Let's move right along to the block B now. Unagi Sayaka defeated Momo in a battle of losers. In this,
listen, you were concerned. You were concerned about Unagi Sayaka.
I am. I still am.
As a human being, as a fan, as a person, you were concerned that Unagi Sayaka has lost her way. And she's lost her placement.
I not only was I concerned about her losing her way, I thought she was like, well, I was thinking as I was watching this match, I was like, if she loses this match, I'm just gonna come on to this show and be like, she's out of the company, man. She is, her contract, whatever, is up. Like, she is getting
done.
She is done. Like, I was like ready to come on here and just be like, yeah, she is stepping out of this company or something. She's able to get the win, so that's good.
It's crazy,
but it is just like, it's a win against Momo and tied at last place against Momo. So who cares?
Her 180 from last year to this year in terms of tournament placement is insanity.
Yeah.
Her only wins are against Saki Kashima and Momo Kogo.
Yeah.
Wow. You see Mina Shirakawa getting big wins. I mean, Mina Shirakawa also lost to Hanan, so it's like, well, how high did she really go?
6 points higher. We got 3 more wins than her.
Like, Unagi's an interesting case that if they're building a story off of this, then good.
Mm-hmm.
If that's the case, but otherwise, it's just sad to see because I think she is so much better than Mina Shirakawa. I think she's very likable. She's a fan favorite. She was in that poll that I always bring up. I always bring up the poll where Starlight Kid's 11th, and she's only behind New Japan's most popular main event stars and like Keiji Muto and Minoru Suzuki. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like, we'll see. I mean, the Meltzer report from that they switched to Hoy and during the Cinderella continues to carry a lot of weight.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like something happened. Saki Kashima defeats Azume in 45 seconds and 44 seconds. How much time do we
You can't
talk
do
about
it better. Yeah. You can't do it better. Oh, by the way, I never said this. Starlight Kid's entrance was unreal. Mm-hmm. I didn't say that earlier. But Azumi had new gear. This was her birthday, and she lost in 45.
How do you feel about the new gear?
It was weird.
I'm not into it. I'm not into it.
I like the long boys part. Like, I like the So I like the actual gear. I don't like the green.
Interesting.
The green's weird.
I get you.
The green with purple and gold?
What? Yeah, it's not. I don't like it. I'm not
lime
into it.
green? It doesn't
I'm not
make
into
sense.
it. Block B match. Kagama defeats.
He's 0-1, so it didn't work.
Yeah. Kagama defeats Utami Hayashita in 6 minutes and 1 second.
She actually had a good match this tournament. Congratulations. She felt like trying a little bit. The finish was great. The finish of this match was great. The BT bomb into the Yoshi Tonic for the win. I mean, Koguma had a very, 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 very weak turn. So,
yeah. No comment.
According to my ratings, it was the same strength as Momo Kogo's tournament. So there you go.
No comment. No comment from me.
Ryan hates Koguma.
Yeah, get her
he wants her to be released.
I didn't say that.
That's what you said. He said he thinks Britt Baker's better.
Anyways, moving on. Tam Nakano defeats Saki.
Yeah.
A good match.
It was fine.
Yeah, it was.
It was literally Saki's entire tournament.
Saki's entire tournament, and also I think Tam
very steady.
Yeah, I think Tam
was saving herself a little bit.
Yeah, Tam knowing that she will be in the final later.
No one told Julia to do that, but it's okay.
Well, she had like an hour to prepare, I guess. Well, Tam had
Tell that
minutes.
to the 2 shoot headbutts that she had. Okay,
that's true. Himeka versus Micah. We kind of already talked about it, that it feels they can just probably do it as a one-on-one match later for the IWGP Women's Tournament, but
they're beasted.
Yeah, they're powerhousing. Can I talk about one thing about Stardom that I don't enjoy?
Go for it.
The water breaks mid-match. I don't like them. They're like the only company that does them. I get it. I get why, of course. But I don't. It always pulls me out. It always pulls me out because
I never noticed them.
It pulls me out. I always notice them, and it's one of those things where it's just I see people stop selling to drink water, and I'm just like, and I'll say this because I have a weird specific compliment to Micah. She continues selling when she's offered water and stuff. There's the shot of like Himeka's given water, and she immediately stops making a pain face to then like, oh yeah, who'll drink some water? And Micah gets the water, shakes her head no, and then just like can't get the up enough to drink the water, and just hands it off and says fuck it. Yeah. Like I'm like, oh yeah, great stuff. I love continued selling. Like, oh, I'm not gonna drink the water because I'm hurt.
Some people use the water a lot more than others.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Did Mayu and Starlight Kid use water?
I don't remember.
I don't even know if they left the ring, so they probably didn't.
Yeah, it only happens when they leave the ring, really.
Like, Psyakamatani uses the water a lot.
Yeah.
Utami uses the water a lot.
Yeah. I'm not a fan
certain people that use the water a lot, but I never really think of it anymore because either I don't notice it anymore or I'm focused on the match. But yeah, I mean, it's a weird thing.
Yeah, it's a weird issue I have.
The weird thing that they do.
Yeah,
that no one else does.
And then the final match we're going to talk about here is Risa Sera defeated Shuri in 12 minutes 11 seconds.
Yeah, it was good. Finish was weird, but it was good.
Yeah, I was just sort of like, all right, let's get into the final match at this point. I was just like, okay, this is
a long show.
It was a long show.
I missed the first 3 matches, so it was like shortened show. Oh, Ricky Steamboat's match was just announced.
Ooh,
ready to hear this?
Breaking news from Scotty Edwards.
Big time wrestling show. Oh, we actually have 2 matches on this show so far. So the first match was announced: Rock and Roll Express versus the Briscoes.
All right.
But the Ricky the Dragon Steamboat match is Brock Anderson, a mystery partner, and specifically Jay Lethal as Black Machismo versus Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and FTR. Remember, specifically Jay Lethal as Black Machine.
That's a wild ass match. I mean,
you have no words.
I got no words. Let's move on.
I don't even know. How am I supposed to feel about that match?
I don't know. Let's move on. Let's move on to our last topic. We're running out of time here.
I don't know.
I have to reflect on it. Let's move on to our last topic here. Impact Bound for Glory. Bound for Glory, huge show for Impact as always. So let's see if it in fact is a huge show for Impact. We got a card here. Let's get through it. Of course, your main event is going to be Josh Alexander versus Eddie Edwards for the Impact World Championship. Eddie Edwards, the leader of Honor No More, constantly being a thorn in Impact's side the entire time. He's been doing pretty good work. He's definitely been a lot better than babyface Eddie Edwards. So I've enjoyed his work here, but now will he be the one that takes the title off of Josh Alexander?
No.
Yeah,
this match does nothing for me.
I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't have the juice. It doesn't have enough juice. I could see Eddie winning.
Are you saying it should be juice?
It should be juice. That's right. That should be juice.
That'd be a great match. Josh and Juice.
That would be.
The Josh and Juice connection.
But I could see Eddie maybe getting a win here. I could see it just for the story.
90th time.
Knockouts World Championship. Jordan Grace versus Masha Slamovich.
Yeah.
I don't think Masha's winning here, but she should. But I think Jordan's going to be holding out here. What do you think?
I'm picking Masha Slamovich because why would you build her up like you have if you're going to have her lose to Jordan Grace?
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I don't know. I think
you're probably right, but I think she should win.
I agree. Impact World Tag Team Championship. It is OGK, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett taking on the Motor City Machine Guns.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's not bad.
You know what I'll never forget, Ryan?
What's that?
The match that the OGK had with the Briscoes.
Yep.
I'll never forget that match because that match had no right to be as good as it was. And I think the Motor City Machine Guns can do the same with the OGK.
Yeah, I think this match should
out of nowhere.
I think this match should be very good. I think this should be very good.
I need to watch that OGK
Briscoes
match again. That was so good. Was that the last Ring of Honor pay-per-view?
Yep. Well, before the sale. X Division Championship match. Mike Bailey goes for the record against Frankie Kazarian. Will he be able to beat Frankie Kazarian? I believe
did he already get to the record?
I think he's tying the record. I haven't seen Impact Television see it as another match, but I believe he's tying the record. But Frankie Kazarian, otherwise known as Mr. Bound for Glory.
What?
I think he's called Mr. Bound for Glory because he's been at like every single Bound for Glory or something like that. I don't know. Or he's won the most at Bound for Glory.
Ryan, you were supposed to watch Impact Wrestling and come back to me with all this, and you're like, I don't know.
No.
Whatever, man.
Mia Yim versus Mickie James.
Ryan Fields sounds dejected.
No, I started having a migraine during the show, and I'm now the Excedrin's kicking in, so it's starting to.
No, see, this is reasonable.
It's starting to kick in quite strong. Mia Yim versus Mickie James. Of course, if Mickie James loses, she's done. She's retiring. Mia Yim. There's reports that her contract is ending up around this weekend with Impact. So if she loses, maybe this is her last match in the company. I feel like the company's high on her. It was a short-term contract. That's apparently what it was. But
so 6 months or so.
Yeah. So I can see her staying. I could also see her going. I don't know. But either way,
AEW.
Maybe. And then, of course, we'll also have the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. I
hope Mickie loses, by the way, because she has to retire. So.
Yeah, that's true. Call Your Shot Gauntlet match. We have some. This is, of course, a gauntlet where the winner can challenge for any title.
Does Moose just not have a match for the second year in a row?
Well, I'll get to it. Last year, Moose shocked the world when he called a shot for the Impact World Title match on the same night. This year, the people that we know that are in this match are PCO, Rich Swann, Giselle Shaw, Heath, Bhupinder Gujar, Moose, Steve Macklin, Sami Callihan, and Bobby Fish.
Steve Macklin's winning.
He should. I agree. He should win that. I see Bobby Fish winning that, and I'm like, oh, geez. I mean, if you're Impact, you have Bobby Fish win it.
What happened to Impact?
What do you mean?
What happened? They felt like they were gaining momentum at one point. They had some steam, and now you read off this lineup to me. I'm just left thinking, what happened? No. Where's Chris Bay? Where's Ace Austin? Where's Trey Miguel? Where is the X Division that carried them this year? Where is that?
I don't know.
It's with Frankie Kazarian. You kidding me?
There's going to be another Knockouts World Tag Team title match between VX Tay, Deonna Purrazzo, and Chelsea Green, taking on Taya Valkyrie and Jess Sitka, former Havoc. See if that team.
Excuse me? Jessica?
Yep, that's her name. Jess Sitka. That's her name.
I'm sick of this card. Just move on.
Countdown to Bound for Glory. That's the open challenge for Brian Myers. That's the last match on the card. I have a migraine. Let's end the show. I need to get out of here. Thank you, everybody, for listening to this week's episode of Ring Post Radio. We appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at RyanIT. Follow Scotty at Scott E Wrestling. Scotty, what was your match of the week?
I'll just say Jericho and Bandito.
Great match. Fantastic match. I'm going to say Will Ospreay versus David Finlay for the IWGP US title. That match was really, really great. David Finlay, I talked about him last year having a great match. He had another match this year that was great for the IWGP title. David Finlay, I feel like they're slowly making him into some sort of guy. Very slowly but surely, like New Japan does. We'll see, but Ospreay takes another great match for my star rating. So congratulations to Ospreay, I guess. That is it for this week's episode. I have a migraine and I can really feel the drugs flowing through my system, Scotty. That's right. I did drugs live on the show. That is it. You can follow the show at CountOutPod. Subscribe to it wherever you get podcasts. And until next week, we'll talk to you later.